Today we're in Tupelo, Mississippi, and we're going to take in the Elvis Driving Tour. We'll see the places he hung out as a little boy before he became a superstar. Your first stop has to be the Tupelo Visitors and Convention Center that you see here. You can pick up all kind of brochures and maps and get suggestions on where to eat, and they even have a neat little museum inside. Plus, it's the site of the first stop on the tour, the Shake Rag community. From 1943 to 1947, Vernon, Elvis's father, worked for a wholesale grocery company making deliveries to various parts of Tupelo. Shake Rag, a historically black community, was one of his delivery areas. It was here in Shake Rag that Elvis was influenced by the sanctified gospel and blues music that he heard that impacted his style greatly. Shake Rag was located east of the old G&O railroad tracks. It extended north from Main Street and was a historic African-American community. By the 1920s, blues and jazz flowed from Shake Rag's house parties, cafes, and restaurants. The neighborhood was leveled and residents relocated in an urban renewal project that started in the 60s. The second stop on the Tupelo Elvis tour is the Fairgrounds. This monument can be found real close to the street and the gate to Fair Park, the Fairgrounds being located in this general area and the stage close to where City Hall is today. Elvis returned here in 1956 and 1957 to perform a couple of concerts in the Fairgrounds. Proceeds from the concerts were used to purchase his birthplace and restore it and build the Elvis Presley Youth Center. Governor J.P. Coleman said the state of Mississippi takes great pride and welcome home on the occasion of the Mississippi-Alabama Fair, America's #1 entertainer, its own native son, Elvis Presley. Elvis can be seen in the picture from the Mississippi-Alabama Fair and Dairy Show here in 1945, and the homecoming concert in 1956. The statue is stop number 3 on the Tupelo Elvis Driving Tour. Now let's make our way down the street to Tupelo Hardware and explore there. In 1946, Elvis's mother Gladys brought him here to buy a bicycle. When Elvis got here, a .22 caliber rifle got his attention. He asked his mother to buy it for him instead. She, of course, wasn't happy about buying a gun, and so they settled on a guitar. A man named Forrest Bobo sold Elvis Presley his first guitar for $7.90. Now on to the Lee County Courthouse. In 1946, WELO, a Tupelo radio station, broadcast weekly music jamborees from the courthouse. Mississippi Slim, who had his own show arranged for Elvis to perform at the jamboree. Elvis's dream was to become as famous as Mississippi Slim and have his own radio show someday. This has nothing to do with the Elvis Driving Tour, but I found it interesting, so decided to show it to you. The plaque on the monument reads, Tupelo Woman's Christian Temperance Union in commemoration of statewide prohibition January 1st, 1908. Now down on the corner we see the Lyric Theater. Elvis really enjoyed Western movies and going to the Lyric Theater. Friends will tell you how he would climb over the divider in the balcony to be able to sit among his African American friends. And of course it was in this balcony that he stole his first kiss. Certainly his love of movies started here. On February the 13th, 1948, a young 13-year-old Elvis Presley, accompanied by his mother Gladys, applied for his first library card. Reading allowed a young Elvis to travel to distant places and learn new things that were still only dreams for a young boy growing up in Tupelo. This was barely a month after his 13th birthday, and he read from an early age, and this, of course, fueled his imagination. Early on, he was captivated by comic books. His favorite was Captain Marvel. Reading certainly played a vital role in the harmony of his life, and that passion was lit by this library card. Elvis attended 7th and part of 8th grade at Milam Junior High. He would often play his guitar for classmates during the lunch hour. In 1948, his family moved to Memphis before he completed the school year. In 1947, Elvis lived at the north end of Green Street, not far from here. Mayhorn Grocery once occupied this place, and Elvis would walk to the store and sit on the porch listening to the blues. It was also here that he heard the sounds of gospel music sung in the African American church across the street. While attending nearby Lawhorn Elementary, Elvis often stopped here at Johnny's Drive-In. One of his favorite meals was an RC Cola and a cheeseburger, or as Elvis would call it, ROC Cola. They even have an Elvis booth inside where he used to sit, but I gotta warn you, they only take cash or checks, no debit or credit cards. Elvis attended school here at Lawhorn Elementary in 1945 in the 5th grade. His teacher, Mrs. J.C. Grimes, encouraged him to take part in the daily chapel services. Elvis would often sing Old Shep for the class. Now on to church. In 1947, Elvis and his family attended church at this location. It was known as the Assembly of God. Reverend Frank Smith was the pastor, and he was very influential in Elvis's life. Not only did they become good friends, but he helped young Elvis learn the guitar. Childhood friends Elvis Presley, Guy Harris, and Odell Clark played in this creek. As neighbors, they spent summers exploring the land surrounding Mud Creek and Reese's Woods. To keep their mothers from tracking them to the swimming hole, where they mostly skinny dipped, the trio would go the long way around Reese's Woods and walk back to the hole in the creek bed. When the girls took a turn at the swimming hole, the boys would play tag, chase, school marbles, play hopscotch, or go to the movies. Let's finish the driving tour by looking around the birthplace. Elvis Aaron Presley was born on January 8th, 1935, in this house. It was built by his father. Elvis redefined popular music, and it all started here. This part was started with proceeds he donated from his 1957 concert. Unchanged since it was built in the 30s, the two-room house sat unoccupied and in poor repair. Elvis's twin, Jesse Guerin, was born about 4 a.m., and Elvis was born about 4:35. And please notice their reported income of $1,232 in 1943. They paid an income tax of $12.56. Folks, that's not much. But that's the life the young Elvis that walked these hills with his guitar lived. This is the actual church building that sat on the spot that we looked at a few minutes ago. This was one of the places that Elvis first fell in love with gospel music. Now you're inside the Memorial Chapel on the grounds of the birthplace. I think the Phoenix window is beautiful stained glass. Pews in the chapel were donated by the people whose names are noted on them. You can see fans attempted to scratch out the colonel's name. One last stop before we leave Tupelo today that's not on the driving tour. We're in Priceville Cemetery, and if you'll make your way through the gates and look for that big stone marked Cason and walk up the hill to the right past it, you'll find a marker for Jesse Guerin Presley, Elvis's twin. Now let's take a bit to turn around and look back down the hill so that you can see a little bit better how to find young Jesse Guerin's grave. The Cason marker is just on the other side of that cedar tree, and you're probably going to park just down the hill there. I honestly think young Jesse Guerin is probably more likely buried right in front of Oma Presley here. But if you're interested in Elvis history or Elvis music history, you really need to check out a guy called Spy Guy on YouTube, or maybe Globetrotting with Trey. They do a fantastic job with both. I hope you've enjoyed the Elvis Driving Tour in Tupelo today, and I really want to encourage you to check it out for yourself sometime. Thank you.